Good morning, and I would like to start the good morning in a lovely way. So can everybody stand up? You know, get a bit of energy in the room. I want you to do, because it always reminds me when people are in rows, you know, church, and that peace comes where, you know, a bit comes in the church and you have to turn around and say, peace be with you, you know. So we're going to do that, right? But before you do, I also want you to remember yesterday when Danny talked about shaking hands. So we're going to take 1 minute to greet each other, shake hands in a Danny way. So go for it. And if you want to use your own language greeting, share your own language as well. And if you haven't met anybody, go and say hello. Awesome.
Always at peace.
Awesome.
Always at peace.
Always, not always.
No, you go to many churches. This can take half an hour, this, right? You know.
You want to play soccer?
Is it?
All right, you can come and sit down again.
I will see you.
Okay, thanks, man. All right.
What a wonderful, you know, what I love about working for World Vision, what I miss about working for World Vision is this global organisation and the unbelievable diversity of talent and thought of all, I mean, every single definition of diversity, right, exists within World Vision. So I miss that. I'm now living in Auckland, and it's a little less diverse, but it's so glad to be back and see all these wonderful faces and to be home again with World Vision. Now, this is a very interactive and engaging session. And Jeanette over there is going to be translating what I say, and so I'm going to have to repeat some things as you go about so that the translation is there for our Spanish speakers. I will try and moderate and slow my voice because I can get quite excited about this topic. But to see if we can make sure everybody gets to understand. All right. So first question, hands up. If you've worked for somebody in your time, whether it's World Vision or before World Vision, that brought out the best in you, that made you feel so smart, so clever, like beyond what you thought you were. Hands up if you've worked for somebody, or it's a teacher or a parent, anybody, doesn't have to be a personal leader. Hands up if you've worked for somebody that brought out the best in you. Your parent, a coach, a mentor, anybody else? Anybody hands up? Right. Most of us, right, have worked for somebody that just made us a better person, made us think a little bit better about things, or got us to achieve something. Those leaders are called multipliers. They're the people that multiply our intelligence. They're the people that switch on our brains. Okay? On the other side, however, hands up for those who've worked for somebody, and you're in a safe space, this is about learning and growing, somebody who actually didn't do that, did the exact opposite, shut down your intelligence, made you feel a little bit stupid, made you think that you weren't capable. Hands up, people who've worked for something like that. Could be a teacher, it could have been outside of World Vision. Hands up who's worked for somebody that diminished their intelligence, made them feel a little bit less smart. Okay, hands up, be honest, we're learning and growing. Yeah, me too. I've worked for them. I've worked for people who just, for whatever reason, I just felt dumb in front of them, because either they were so super smart and so I couldn't possibly compete, or the way they behaved made me feel less than what I thought I was capable of. We call these leaders diminishers. Now what we're going to talk about today is why multipliers as a leadership paradigm is important to you as auditors. That's the focus of today. But before we do that, I just want to share my own personal, climb down now, I want to share my own personal story around being multiplied. I'm going to embarrass somebody in the room here now. Where are you, Chris? There he is. So, when I learned about multipliers a few years ago with World Vision, so World Vision introduced me to multipliers as part of a program, a leadership program we did. I was working in Sapo with Krista Rackham, and I was really struggling. I was a regional P&C director. Hands up who work in a region. Hands up anybody who works in a region. You work in a region. Hand up. Right? It's a tough role being in the region. It's like being the meat in the sandwich, isn't it? You know?
The burger.
Yeah, the burger bun, right? The nice patty in the burger bun. And I just joined the region. I'd been in the support office in New Zealand, and I was really struggling. I didn't know how to work with the national offices effectively, and how to work out with global effectively. So Chris came along, and he was just so encouraging, like super encouraging, to the point when we were looking at the people in P&C in my team in the region. I had one person working for me. He went out and went on my behalf and found me an extra resource so that we could do what we could do. I mean, how amazing is that? As a true multiplier, right? Somebody that says, you know what, Judith, I'm there for you. I'm going to actually go and help you. Do you remember Chris? Yeah, I'm going to actually go and help you get the resources you need to get the job you need to get done. He had so much confidence in me. And I was like, oh no, nobody will give me those resources. You know, he says, oh. But he did, and he got it, and we expanded the team by one, and we did some really fantastic work with that team. So I want to acknowledge you, Chris, as a multiplier in my life. Thank you. And I want you to remember those people that multiplied you, and I want you to remember those people that diminished you, because we're going to come back to those in a minute and talk about them and find out what's the difference it makes. What's the difference in multiplying? Why would we care? As organisational leaders, why would we care? But first, leadership. I want to ask you a question. I'm climbing back up again. It's going to be fun. Up and down we go. I want to ask you a question. Why is leadership important to you as auditors? Why is it important? Why should we care about leadership? Highly interactive, participative. Why should we care about leadership? So you can know where we're going, right? A vision, a direction. Thank you. Yep. Why else? And how could so? Somebody that's going to guide us, right? Guide us towards that direction. Why else? Listening to Kevin Jenkins yesterday, you know, all the challenges that you're facing, all those presentations yesterday, they said something, didn't they? They said the world is changing really, really fast. So why does leadership matter to an internal audit function? Yes, Les?
See if we're heading in the right direction, if we're on track.
See if we're right. And why do we need to know that?
Well, if we're going off track, we need to know that ASAP. So bring it back to the strategy.
Cool. Anything else? Why do we need leadership in audit?
To grapple with a fast-changing world.
To grapple with it, right? Because we just don't know how we're going to deal with all these incredibly big changes. So we need leaders that can help us as individuals, right? Yes? To be focused. Absolutely. Like, we need our leaders to help us focus on the right things, the important things. Why else? To coordinate, to help us prioritize. To increase the result, right? But how does leadership help increase the result? enhance the potential of each subordinate. And I'm sorry, I'm going to do a little bit of following up with you. Why do we need to enhance the potential of each subordinate? Think more and more. And why do we need our subordinates? One second. Why do we need our subordinates to think more and more? To bring out the best in them. And why do we, I'll keep going because it's a really important point here. Why do we need to bring out the best in our people?
Build confidence.
To build confidence. And why do we need to build confidence? To meet the organisational goals. Because what's happening is that our leadership is now not about knowing everything, right? There's a big shift going on. There's a disruption going on in leadership where we're moving as leaders from not having the answers to actually relying on our people to bring out the potential in them so they can come up with the answers. Because there's so much going on. I don't know how to solve all that stuff that was presented to you yesterday. But if I can bring out your potential, if I was your leader, I believe we could solve it together. So there's a big shift happening in leadership. Sorry, you had a point to make.
Yes, I want to answer to the first question. We need leaders for establish a strategy.
We need leaders to establish a strategy. Again, direction, goal orientation. Is there a shift in what auditors need to be in the future based on everything that you heard yesterday?
Agile.
What is it?
First, to understand the business, what we are in.
To say that again, sorry, to understand?
The operation or the business, what we are in.
Right.
How we operate.
So you need to understand more of what the business does and how it operates here. What else?
It's changing, evolving.
It's changing and evolving, right? You've got to keep up with all these trends and all these new ways of doing things. What else?
Be self-aware and how to relate to people.
So more self-awareness. And I think yesterday Danny's stuff on communication, my goodness. My goodness, right? So we need to have all these other softer skills, don't we, as auditors? Who's going to help us find those softer skills? How are our leaders going to help us grow and develop into the auditors that we need to be in order to respond to all this change? So that's what I want to talk about. There is a huge why. And on my phone, I was doing some Googling. Up I go again. Then I put my phone over here. Oh, no, I'm going over here. Oh. I was Googling on auditors, because I'm not an auditor, I'm a P&C person. I was thinking about what is it really going on for auditors, what's actually shifting and changing. And I found this article, and it just said something that really, really stuck with me. Internal audit functions with highly effective leadership perform better and add greater value to their businesses. The most effective internal audit leaders exhibit these 5 characteristics. Okay. Create and follow through on a vision. So that answers strategy, goals, direction. Source and retain the right talent. Yeah? Look for the right talent. Develop and grow the right talent. Empower the internal audit function. So do you think the demands on you auditors are growing or decreasing?
Growing.
Growing. Why are they growing?
Changes.
Why are the demands growing? Your clients want more, right? They want more value. We heard it yesterday. They want more of your intelligence. They want more of your smarts. They want you to help them figure things out that they can't figure out. They want empowered internal auditors who can come up with solutions with them to their problems. Fourth one, demonstrate executive presence. That's back to that confidence. I think somebody overrated. We need to be confident to work with these clients, the the CEOs or the national directors. Partner with business in meaningful ways. It's a new way of operating, isn't it? It's a new way of being with our clients. David Maister, if anybody's heard of David Maister, the trusted advisor. Hands up if you've heard of David Maister. One. So David Maister wrote a book several years ago called The Trusted Advisor, which was about consulting. And he talks about how important it is. At that time it was consultants, and I think now it's auditors and accountants, P&C people, the role of the trusted advisor. But how are we going to bridge that gap if we don't have great leaders who actually help us work out what it really means to be a trusted advisor? Okay, so I think we've proven the case that leadership is important. I think we've got there. So what does that mean for multipliers? So this is a book that was written by a lady called Liz Wiseman about 8 years ago. And she did a bunch of research around the leaders of tomorrow. Like, what is it? What new paradigm of leadership do we need to help us solve the problems that we've got, the disruptive issues that we've got? And she identified 2 types of leaders. Multipliers, those people who bring out the best, get the best intelligence out of us, turn our brains on, and diminishers, those leaders who shut our intelligence down. And she worked with 150 organisations to identify what it was that was actually going on. And I'm going to share with you her video now, just to give you a bit of an understanding of what she was up to. Do it from the screen, sorry. Beg your pardon, because I think with the clicker it doesn't always work this way. Okay, I'm going to have to run it from non-thingy mode because I can't get it to run. Something to do with the new PowerPoint, I think. So just bear with me, I'll just run it from here.
What is the fate of the smart and the talented? The corporate world finds smart, talented people and promotes them into management. But many of these leaders never look beyond their own capability to see the full genius on their team. Have you ever worked around someone who made you feel smarter and more capable? We call these leaders multipliers. Have you ever worked around someone who made you question your own intelligence? We call these leaders diminishers. They may hire smart people, but they quickly put other people in the background. They are smart leaders, but they shut down the smarts of others. Diminishers come at such a high cost, they waste talent and intellect that sits right in front of them. Organizations can't afford diminishers. I worked in senior management at Oracle for 17 years, and I worked around a lot of really smart executives. I saw how some leaders literally shut down brain power in the people around them. Yet other leaders seem to amplify the intelligence of the people around them. These leaders were multipliers, intelligence multipliers. I saw this pattern with other executives, and I was determined to research this to find out why. My first discovery was my research partner, Greg McEwen, at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Together, we studied 150 leaders in 35 companies over 4 continents in pursuit of one really big question. Why do some leaders drain intelligence while others amplify it?
So what did we find? We found that diminishers and multipliers did many things alike, but a small number of things differently. 5 in particular. Multipliers act as talent magnets, liberators, challengers, debate makers, and investors. Multipliers get so much brain power from their people that the workforce is essentially doubled for free.
Multipliers come from all walks of life, from corporate boardrooms to our school's classrooms. They are leaders like Lutz Ziob, Bill Campbell, Wangari Maathai, and many more. These people are real, and the way they lead can be learned and it can be developed. What would happen in your organization if you operated more like a multiplier? Imagine what is possible with access to all the intelligence that sits in your organization.
So, let's not take Liz's word for it. Why don't we look at it for ourselves? Let's get this back up. Why don't we look at it for ourselves? I want you to have a think now about those people that we were talking about earlier on. That those people that multiplied your intelligence, I said whether it was a leader, a coach, a mentor, a parent, a teacher, and those people that diminished your intelligence. And I want you to bring those people to mind at the moment, because we're going to do an exercise together to prove what Liz said around the impact that multiply leaders have on us and diminishing leaders have on us. So have you got a pen and paper? Cool. All right. I want you to first think about this diminishing leader or diminishing teacher or whatever. And I want you to write down a couple of words about what they did. Just write down on a piece of paper a couple of words about what they did. And then I want you to answer a very specific question. How much intelligence did they get out of you? And this is a number. This is a number from 0 to 100. How much intelligence did they get out of you from 0 to 100? And I'm not talking about effort. I'm talking about intelligence. I'm talking about your smarts. I'm talking about switching your brain on. Because I've worked in a job, just recently I worked in a job where I was so busy, I just couldn't think straight, I was so busy, but I was incredibly bored, right? So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those leaders that switch on your intelligence, that make you feel much smarter. Okay, 0 to 100. Secondly, I want you to do this for the multiplier. What did your multiplier do? What is it they behaved, they did, they acted? And how much intelligence did he or she get out of you? How much brain power did they switch on? Okay, give you a couple of minutes to do that. Make sure you've got that. Is that all clear? Any confusion? Any questions? Especially for people who are listening to me in a language of second choice. Is okay? Making sense? Cool. All right. So get those now. So you should have a couple of words describing behaviours, and you should have 2 numbers. With all these different things in my head. Okay. Are you ready in this safe space? We're not going to talk about names or any people specifically. That's why I embarrassed Chris. You didn't mind, did you, Chris? Just want you to talk to me about the diminisher. Tell me, what did your diminisher do? Share with me. What did your diminisher do? Yes. He limited you. He limited you. Limited you. Made you feel like you were unable to do something. Or made the scope of what you're doing too small. Yeah, okay, got it. Made the scope of what she was doing too small. Limited her. Who else? Right. I can do it. I'm smart. I'll work it out. Thank you. I'll just give you the little bits and pieces I need you to do. Yeah? Yeah. Good one. Who else? Yes.
The diminisher would always compare you with the highly experienced person to just make you feel that you are doing less and you are not able to do it.
You're not good enough, right? Oh, that's awful. Awful. Next, yes, I'm going to actually reach over because it's a really good idea for Jeanette up there. Yes. Takes the credit. Oh, takes the credit. Oh my gosh, so true, so very true. Who else? Yes.
Was extremely critical.
Nothing you do is right? It's all wrong.
Takes away my level of confidence and self-belief.
Makes you feel really like you can't do anything, like you just not got it, and that's that. I've been there. I think I'm quite intelligent, but I actually worked with somebody for quite a while. By the end of it, I actually was a little bit of a wreck, to be honest with you, because they just consistently made me feel lack confidence. Who else?
They don't trust me.
Don't trust you, right? They don't think that you can do it. Yes.
Complaining.
Always complaining. Always saying that's not good enough. Oh, when are you going to get this done? Oh, did you really mean that? Oh, yeah, exactly. Anything different? Yes.
Give non-challenging job or assignment. Give non-challenging job.
Oh, that's right. Like, give you something that's just not going to get too simple, too easy. That was what I was doing when I talked about I was working my socks off, but I was bored out of my mind. Yes. One more. We'll do one more. Shout.
Yeah. Ask you a question in a group in an area that they are well versed and they know you struggle with it.
That is a really good one. Just like test you. And actually, to be honest with you, testing. I've been working on this track myself, so I'm quite knowledgeable about leadership. And sometimes I can get into that position where I'm going, right, I'm just going to test you to see if you know as much as I know. But in that case, it sounded a little even worse than that. One more, and then we'll move on.
Proposed to you to change your job.
He proposed?
To change your job.
Right, to change your job, did you say? All right. I guess the point is we've all experienced these people, right? So, back to me. I need the numbers. Now, there are 128 people in this room, plus a few facilitators. So I'm not going to take 128 numbers. I'm going to take 10, and then after 10, if you have a wildly, as in not the number you want up there, we'll add it in. But 10 is a good number because we're going to have to work out an average, right? So, a number, what intelligence did he or she get out of you? And if you can shout out a number, I'm going to take 10, as I said, and then we'll stop. Right, go. 50? Did somebody say 50? Yeah. Yep, okay, got it. 30. 20. Oh, I like the zeros. That makes my life very easy. Got 10. No, these are genuine, right? You're not making this up. You genuinely felt that this person got 10 out of 100% intelligence from you, right? 25. 40. 4 more.
Number 0.
0. Did I hear you right? 0? Did he say 0? Okay, 2 more. Anybody different? 2 more. 100. Okay. Thank you. We'll sort that out. And one more. 80. 8-0. All right. Do we have a savant in mathematics here? You know, somebody that got AAA score for maths when they were... I need the average, basically, is what I'm saying. Oh, is there one more? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, you're quite right. One more. 17. Okay, great. Give me an average. 40.
36.5.
42. I've got 42.5 on offer. Any advances on 42.5? Going.
36.5.
Okay. I need help. I need somebody with good. 36.5. Is that our final offer? 36.5. All right. Let's now look at the multipliers. Let's see what happened here. So somebody want to shout out? Actually, I'll come down in a second. We'll just do quite quickly now. What did your multiplier do? What did the multiplier do? Yes.
She always empowers us to do a new thing.
She empowers you to do a new thing, right? She had confidence in you, is that right? Yeah, okay. What else?
Encouraged even when you make mistakes.
Even when you make mistakes. Auditors. Even when... No. But it is true though. Because you should be able to make mistakes. And your boss should be able to say, you know what, have you learned? Okay, next.
And one way job is well done, is say great job, well done.
Excellent.
Recognition, right? Really important. Stimulates all those chemicals in the brain when somebody recognizes you. All that oxytocin and serotonin goes off like woohoo. Okay, yes. I'm on the back here. Yes. Do you want to shout?
He appreciated that I'm a professional and we can discuss.
He appreciated your expertise. He valued your expertise and had a good discussion with you. Not I know better than you, but what do you know? And maybe I could learn something from you. Awesome. Yes.
Create the opportunity.
Creates the opportunity for what? For something more challenging? To challenge you, right? To get to stretch you. To get you out of your comfort zone. Yeah. One more.
They consulted me and implemented some of my suggestions.
Oh no, really? How cool is that? They implemented some of my ideas. These people, it's like they see light bulbs in other people's heads. They're not worried about the light bulb in their head. They're worried about the light bulb in the people that they work with, right? Yes?
He exposed you.
Yeah. That's right. They put you in positions where you're exposed in a good way, right? In the sense that they're giving you new experiences. Yeah.
Even when you do wrong and you're disappointed, you will use your past good things to encourage you.
Yes, that's right. So they take the fact that you might actually not always get it right, but help you work through it, right? Help you work through it. Okay, I'm going to do one over here because I haven't been over here. It's good exercise for me.
And they appreciate diverse views.
Appreciate diverse views. Oh my gosh, yeah. And there's so much richness in diversity, right? That we don't all have the answers, that we could actually collaborate. Okay, I'm going to do one more. Who hasn't talked? Who's desperate to? Because I'm going to do this gentleman over here. This is one more. There you go.
I trust him to have a full commitment to achieve and complete her task, his task.
Right, that trust factor again. I don't have to get in the way. I don't have to step in. I can actually let it happen and just watch that person deliver and get results. Okay, great. All right, let's do the numbers. Okay. The numbers for multipliers, I need 10 and shout them out, but actually one at a time, because that was the problem last time, I couldn't hear. Okay, ready? Okay, go. First one. 80. 90.
It's 5.
75.
It's 5.
We could do 5 if you like. I don't afford it. No, carry on.
It's 5.
85. Oh, I can't hear. 99. Oh, I wonder what happened to that 1% that didn't come out. What else? Come on. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's 120 in the room, so. Or are they all the same? All right. Has anybody got another number that's completely different to this?
110.
110. Okay. Okay? All right. Our math savant, can you do that? I know it's not 10, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can you add that up divided by 7 and give me a number? 91.2. Yeah? Cool. All right. Now I'm just going to come back. Yes?
The first average is 42.5.
It is 42.5.
No.
Okay. All right. Now we've just got a couple of numbers here that we need to just have a look at because we need to understand this, right? So it seems logical that if you work for a diminisher, they're not going to get a huge amount of intelligence. That seems logical, but we've got 100 here. So we need to ask this lovely young man, why did you put 100?
Just to prove the other guy wrong.
Exactly. Because the other half of this conversation that we won't have today is how you deal with a diminisher. And there's a whole conversation around that, and that is actually my passion. Liz Wiseman talks about eliminating the world of diminishing bosses, and I think that's a really laudable goal. But my passion is dealing with diminishing bosses, because they're going to happen. And so that 100 example there is about how this young man, that's okay, highly intelligent young man used his intelligence to manage the diminishing boss. And that's really key, so thank you for that. All right, on the other side, we've got somebody that put 110. Now, when you give instructions to auditors, and it says between 0 and 100, and somebody puts 110, you've got to worry. Who did 110? Now, it's awesome, and there's a really good reason. Why did you do 110?
So, because I don't know how much is my potential, and he come and say, your potential is much more than that.
Exactly.
Why you limit yourself? And then he shout to me for some time, and then and then I realized actually I can do 110.
Exactly. Now I'll share a personal story here, another one for somebody who wasn't working for World Vision, and exactly like that. So I was working for a consultancy firm, and in New Zealand we have a very large retail organisation called The Warehouse, famous in New Zealand. And we were selling a piece of procurement work to them. And I was the consultant that had done all the analysis, because I'm not just in P&C, the years before I actually was in procurement. And we'd done all the analysis of their expenditure and spend and all these things. And I'd done all that work. And my boss was coming with me to present the work to the chief financial officer of this very large company. And I met him in the car park. And we were just about to go and present. And he said, right, Judith, off you go. And I said, I beg your pardon? He said, you got this. And I said, what? What do you mean I've got this? You're coming in, you do all the talking, that's your job. You're the talker, you do all the talking, I provide that. You can do this. You can go in, meet the chief financial officer, take him through the report, and get this business. You're dreaming. He says, I don't care whether you think I'm dreaming or not, I'm off. And he got in his car, and drove away. This is serious. I'm honest to goodness serious. His name is Ross. And he drove away. Of course, what was I going to do? Was I going to get in my car and drive away and leave the chief financial officer going, where the heavens is management toolbox, the name of the company? No, I went in. What happened? What happened? I did it. Do you think I would ever have thought I could do it if Ross had not put me in that position? That's the 110. And in fact, for me, that was more like 200. I would never have thought I could have done that. That is massive. That's where the potential comes in. All right, so what is the multiplying factor here? 91.2 versus 42.5. What's that as a multiplier? Double. Times 2. What do you think the internal audit function of World Vision International would be like if we could get times 2 the intelligence out of our people? Do you think that's a good thing to go for? That's what we're talking about. Think like a multiplier, and you're going to tap in to times 2 more the intelligence of people. And that's exactly what Liz's research found as well. All right, for some reason it went back to 0, but we'll live. So this is the multiplier diminisher difference. And the basic thing I want you to see from this, because we haven't got time to go, and nor need we, to detail, is the diminisher versus multiplier assumption. And you've already told me this. Diminishers, what they assume is people won't figure it out. Yeah? You basically what you said to me. Multipliers assume people are smart and will figure it out. They did the same experiment with 150 organizations, and they found that the multiplier for, the score for diminishers was 48% versus your 42%. And for multipliers, it was 95% versus your 91%. Times 2 the intelligence. What would it be like if we could? And this doesn't apply to internal audit, this can apply to any function, right? Or any organization, if we were to get times 2 the intelligence out of our people. All right, okay. Now, we've talked about multipliers and diminishers, and I think that's, that's really an interesting analysis, and it proves the point that there's so much more intelligence that we leave on the table. But it's not really the whole truth. The whole truth is that most of us are not on those extremes. We're not all fantastic multipliers over here, and then we're not all raving diminishers. That in the normal distribution of most things, it's across the board, right? And that the middle bit is where most of us are, yeah? So I can remember multipliers I worked for, as a handful of them. I can remember diminishers I worked for, as a handful of them, but I can remember a lot of leaders I worked for who what I call were accidentally diminishing me. And I'm an accidental diminisher, which means I've got all these good intentions around bringing out the best in people, but I haven't quite worked out the impact that they're having on people. So I want to have a look at that now. And so what Liz found out, that with these accidental diminishers, that there were some behaviours, some assumptions that they had, even though their intentions were good. So we're going to have a look at those and see if any of those resonate with you. Now we're talking about you now, so we've moved away from your bosses, and we're now talking about you. We're focusing on you as leaders or potential leaders. All right. First one, this is time for self-identification. Now these people have good intention. So the ideas guy, girl, guy, we'll use guy just because it's easy for me to say. The ideas guy, what could be the good intention of a boss who's an ideas guy? What could they be trying to do? Somebody that's got ideas. An ideas guy, what would they be trying to do? What would be their good intention?
Innovate.
Sorry?
Innovate.
Innovate, right. They think that I'm going to have some ideas and I'm going to put those in the mix, and then we can go and innovate. We can go and get better things done. I've got some really great ideas. Now remember, these are your leaders we're talking about, or you as leaders we're talking about, right? What else about the ideas guy? What is their good intention? What do they think they're doing? Crib sheet. They want to stimulate others, right? So a leader that has a lot of ideas, and I used to work with a guy like this called David, and he had brilliant ideas. And his good intention was to stimulate other people. That was his good intention. He wanted us to be thinking, so throw all these ideas in. What do you think happened? What was the accidental diminishing consequence of all those ideas? Anybody work for a person with loads and loads of ideas? Yes? No, it's all right. So he might actually think he's got all the ideas and doesn't leave any space for anybody else to have any ideas. So his good intention, yeah, is to stimulate, but actually what happens is everybody thinks, oh, well, he has all the ideas, I don't think I'll bother turning my brain on today. Fair enough? All right. What about the always-on person? What could be going on there? Why would somebody what would be the good intention of somebody who's always on? An always-on person is that person that's like, lots of energy, gift to the gab, chat, talky. What's their good intention? Yes. Do new thing. Wanting to get on top of things. Yeah? What else? An always on guy with their lovely infectious energy. What do they do unintentionally to you?
I think they talk too much and they never listen.
Exactly. They talk too much and they never listen. Yeah, they're so full of their own fantasticness. They're so full of their own talking. Yeah, they've got the gift of the gab. And I know these people exist in World Vision. I know. I've worked with them. But they don't allow to listen to other people. People go, oh. When an always-on person comes near you, when you're in the office, where do you go? Do you go up to them and say, hi, always-on person? Or do you just walk? All right. So they consume all the space. And ideas don't get made, and creativity doesn't get made without having people having space to think. All right, rescuer. What could be the good intention of a rescuer? What could a rescuer be trying to do that would help you as a leader? Or what would you do if you were a rescuer? What sort of thing do you do? Think of that project, and your team, and they're really struggling. What might you do? Thinking of this as an accidental diminisher though, right? Somebody's coming in and they're rescuing you. What could their good intention be? They think you need help, right? But what could be the downside of a rescuer? I am a rescuer. Declared. I'm a rescuer. I go in and I help my team because I cannot stand to see them struggling. Can't stand it. So I go in and help them. What's the unintended consequence of me going in and helping them?
You don't allow them to grow.
I have no option.
You don't try, you don't learn.
You don't
Yes.
allow them to grow.
Don't allow them to grow. Step in too soon. Now I'm not saying you abandon your team and let them crumble into a heap on the floor, but sometimes we step in too soon. That's the idea behind a rescue, is they're just coming in too soon and people don't learn and grow, and then it creates a dependency. Yes, sir, you have a point. The same. Okay. All right, so you can see like these, we've done 3 and we're going to do 4 more, but these are people with good intention. Yeah, I'm a rescuer. My intention is good, but my implication of my intention is that I actually am shutting down the intelligence of people I'm working with. All right, let's do this one. Oh, this is an interesting one. Pace setter. What do you think's going on with a pace setter? What do you think might be happening with a pace setter? Think of a car, think of a Grand Prix. And you know when the Grand Prix is running around and they bring in the car to set the pace? So what do you think a leader might be doing if they're setting the pace?
You're under that direction.
Yes, right. So they're setting the pace, they're going, we need to go at this pace. This pace, this pace, this pace. And you're thinking, what? Too fast or too slow? Yeah, exactly. Or somebody said, see ya, right? But the good intention is it's good to have a rhythm. It's important for an organisation to have a rhythm that works for it, to help it get things done. But sometimes our leaders set the rhythm too fast or too slow. And if they set it too fast, we become spectators and go, well, okay, you know. And those pace setters then become people that we try and manage and work around in order to get things done at the pace that we want to get them done at, in order to deliver quality to our clients. All right. What about the perfectionist? What's the good intention of I'm a perfectionist. What's the good intention of a perfectionist? Yes?
Sometimes they want quality work. Yeah.
High standards quality work. Yeah, high standards and quality work. I'm a perfectionist. I actually beat myself up more than I beat others, but it's the same issue. It's that I'm thinking I'm not good enough in this case, or in the leadership case, this isn't good enough. They're the people that put the red pen through things, right? Their intention is good. They want high standards and quality work. But the impact of something being red penned is not that, right? It shuts you down. It makes you think my work isn't good enough, and we had an example over there from somebody who said it wasn't, my work's not good enough. All right, what about the optimist? What's the good intention and what could be going on with an optimist? Come on, optimists are cool. Optimists are awesome. I'm an optimist. Everything's going to be great. We're all going to have fun. We're going to come. We can deal with all this disruption. No problem. It's going to be easy. When I say that, when I say we can deal with all this disruption, we can deal with blockchain, we can deal with cybersecurity, we can get our clients to think of us as trusted advisors, no problem. What do you think? How does that feel? It feels a bit unrealistic, doesn't it? And we don't have empathy for our people. We actually lose empathy for the people and how hard it is. Now, Liz Wiseman, the author, is very much like this. She says, oh, how hard can it be? But actually, the people working for us say it's actually really hard. So optimists can actually shut intelligence down by not having that empathy and understanding that some things are really hard for my people. And even though I love your positivity, sometimes I just want you to get in the pit with me and see what it's like. Finally, the strategist. Now, we have a lot of strategists in World Vision. I remember them well. Lots of strategy. 2030. Woohoo! Sorry. I don't work for World Vision. I can be a bit risky. What is the downside? And what is the good intention? So I'll start there. What is the good intention of a strategist? So a leader that's very focused on the future and the direction, on the goals. What's their good intention? Have a mission, right? Be ambitious for the organisation, help the organisation achieve its goals. What's the implication of a strategist, though, when it comes to
they're in the heaven, not in the earth. They're in the heaven, not on the earth.
Oh, I can't, sorry, play again.
They're not on the earth.
They're not on the earth, that's right. They're not there, they're not with you on the ground, a bit like the optimist. But also, what I found with strategists that they're super smart people, and sometimes because they're super smart, I think I don't need to think. Because they've figured it all out, right? And I've worked with quite a few in my time with all that really strategic, really super. I mean, to get into strategy, you tend to be, your A++, 10 degrees, and around them I feel intimidated. So when a strategist is diminishing you, it's because they're not realising the impact that they're having. So there were nine different accidental diminishers. I shared 7 with you, just in case of time, and ones that I thought were most relevant. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to write down which you think is your accidental diminishing behaviour. Write it down on a piece of paper, and then with your neighbour, for 5 minutes, I want you just to discuss what that's like for you. So in a fair and safe space, you know, in the friends, you know, internal auditors united, learning and growing together. What is your accidental diminishing behaviour? And just have a chat with your neighbour, and I'll give you 5 minutes to do that. Okay, go. I love it when you get that hubbub in a room. Absolutely love it. Okay. Wonderful. Hello. Bonjour. Buenos dias. Sawadika. Salamat pagi. Is that right? Is that the afternoon or the morning? I never remember. Okay, I'm going to shout now because I want your attention. Back to me. I'm always on and amazing. All right, thank you. Okay, so clearly there's quite an interesting stuff going on here, right? Some interesting stuff going on about how we multiply the intelligence of people. The whole concept of the fact that we can bring out other people's intelligence and get our organizations delivering twice more. Now, I've run these workshops in Asia, in the Philippines and India, Chittaranjan, wherever you are. Where are you, Chittaranjan? Chittaranjan has been exposed to multipliers from me before. And, you know, we did it with how many Indian leaders? About 30, 40? It was quite a number, eh? The Philippines as well. And then I left World Vision, but I'd love to have taken it all over. And it's part of the SLDP. But there's a big, I mean, we just touched on the surface of what multiplier leadership is like, but there's a big opportunity here for us to think differently, to shift our mindset. All right, now I just want a brave couple of people just to maybe share, if you will, their accidental diminisher. Own it, as Danny said, own it. What, any brave soul prepared to tell us their accidental diminisher and own it? Oh, right at the back here, straight up with her hand. Here, I'm coming. So just a little bit around so what's your accidental diminisher, and just a little bit around what you've learned today.
So first, can I, if you don't mind, if I ask a question or make a comment? So all of these traits, so if I think of the body of Christ and I think of different gifts, to me these can be gifts. They're gifts of the body that I live, my husband's a true pessimist, and I would see myself as an optimist. And I feel like each of these traits or gifts can actually contribute positively to the body. We need strategists, we need the idea person, we need the always on person. It's just when they exist in a vacuum, and when they exist, you know, by a strong leader, that, you know, if you're a victim of your leader, then that's negative. But if they don't exist in a vacuum, if they exist with the body of Christ working together, you know, when you have the optimist with the pessimist, then there's balance. And so I appreciate you bringing these traits out and sharing this. I think as an auditor, I would see myself definitely as a perfectionist. So thank you.
Yeah. What a beautiful comment, right? So this is it, right? We're all in this together. And I was just saying to Chris is an optimist, I'm a realist. And we made a great team, because every time he was saying it's going to be easy, I'd go, well, I don't know if it's going to be that easy. And every time I'd say it's going to be really difficult, he'd say, well, to be honest with you, I think we can do this, you know? So that you're right, that's a beautiful point that together we're doing. Right, now, you've owned being a perfectionist. Did you think of anything you might do differently as a result of today?
No, I haven't gone that far.
You haven't got that far. Well, for being the first, for being brave, and for saying such a beautiful point, you get the book. You're welcome. Does anybody else want to share? Yes, go for it.
My team is with me around. I'm a pace setter.
A pace setter? Sorry, can you say again, your team is here?
Yes, we're all here.
Team. Is she a pace setter?
Yes, ma'am. So I drive them mad. Like my name, Maddie. And for me, I reflect and say, maybe I need to look at their schedules, really think, are they ready? Or I need to adjust at some point, that slow down a bit. So that will make them more comfortable. And the empathy side is not that ready. I need to encourage myself to do more.
Very beautiful. Well done. That is awesome. Great. And you know what I love about that? Your name is, sorry? Maddie. Did you say Maddie?
Yes.
Maddie. Maddie, you too get a book. I've only got 2. And the reason why I think that's really beautiful is that she's validated it with her team, because I think the biggest important point here is not to do this by yourself. If you're a leader and you've got people with you, or you've got people that you work with, go and find out from them. Give them this. This handout will be available to you in your WebEx box, whatever box you've got for this conference. And then you can just sit down with your team or your peers and say, hey, do you think maybe? And they'll go, yeah, like David, yeah. That is so beautiful. And then, really good trick for you. Tip of the day. If you're a pace setter, have a little thing between you guys, all right, that when she's setting the pace too fast, you can tell her. So it looks like for me, put the brakes on, just get your foot out and go, and like you're putting the brakes on, and just do that. You don't have to say anything, you don't have to speak anything, just put the brakes on and she'll go. So you can have these things. Liz had the one because she's got the gift of the gab. Her people would say, you're choking me with all the information, or you're in front of her office. She goes, so it's just these things that can just help us be more self-aware and get a good conversation going, so that we can be more humble in some of our not so great but good intentions, but not necessarily having the greatest impact. All right, well, we're at the end of my conversation with you today. I want to thank you so much for being such a great audience. This afternoon, or later this morning, I'm doing the Art of the Question. And the Art of the Question is a leadership. It's one of the key leadership practices that Liz talks about in terms of how leaders need to be for the future. And I'm going to give you a ponderous question, of which you won't get the answer to right now. But if you come to my session, which most characterizes multipliers? I don't want you to answer this now, I just want you to ponder it. We'll answer it in the session. Seeing and using the genius in others. Intellectual curiosity. Creating a safe environment to take risks, or listening. All right, so when I see you in the 2 sessions, we'll answer that question and give you reasons why. In the meantime, I want to, as I said, thank you for your attention and leave you with this final picture as a way of reminding you about the difference between diminishers and multipliers. Remember, diminishers think they need to be there to figure it out. You can't figure it out without them, whereas multipliers think that everybody smart can figure it out. So are you a genius? Are you turning up being the genius? I've got all the answers. Or are you turning up being a genius maker, saying, how can I set the light bulbs off in my team? Thank you very much for your attention. I'll catch you later. Take care.
Thank you so much, Judith.